Yes. All right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. But before we begin, we just like to let everyone know that this is being recorded, and if anything that is said or written in the chat can be forwarded at a later date.
This is being recorded?
Yes, it's being
Oh,
recorded.
no.
Always done.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dennis Wuderis. I am the chairperson of Community Board 13's Parks Committee. I'd like to welcome all the brave souls that came out tonight in the cold, and also welcome everybody that's joining us on Zoom. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being here. We appreciate your presence. We are here tonight to listen to a boardwalk study update given by the Parks Department. We're not here to discuss any designs
Or to
any
vote. No voting.
instruction
There's no
or any
voting.
kind of voting will take place tonight. We're here as an informative meeting. So we're all ears. Commissioner Marr is here. I see him on Zoom. Welcome, Commissioner, and thank you so much for your presentation tonight. We're looking forward to hearing it and listening all about it and learning about it.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that a lot. And thank you, all the folks from CV13 that are here. It's always good to work with Community Board 13. I've been doing that for the past 41 years. So as Dennis said, everybody here, I think, is aware that we got $103 million a few years back for a phase one of the boardwalk. And that was going to include a study by a private entrepreneur to determine sort of best practices and make recommendations. So just a reminder, we're updating you on the study. This isn't the engineering. This isn't the design. There'll be a nice announcement later on in the week about this. But this is to look at the entire 2.4 miles of the boardwalk in its entirety. The boardwalk itself, the structure, the lifeguard stations, the public restrooms, the many utilities that are under the boardwalk, and so on. So all this is tonight is just a briefing on that study of some of the basic stuff that we got out of it. We're not going to be picking the color of the railing or any of the other materials or anything like that tonight. Of course, and we're going to be working with the Economic Development Corporation because they get the best bang for the buck and they can do things at a more escalated. Obviously, this is a long-range thing that is going to address the entire boardwalk, and we'll be working with EDC. And of course, when there's engineering and design done, we'll be engaging again with the community board, and we'll have a scoping meeting and have input, and I'm sure we'll have some delightful conversations and discussions about the boardwalk. But I know that everybody here cares deeply about coming out on the boardwalk. It's 102 years old, and I don't need to tell folks here that it's not in great condition. And so we're looking at the entire boardwalk. So I'm joined by an amazing team at Parks. Our planning division has been shepherding this through. So I have Devin Stutson from our planning division, Sarah Nielsen from our planning division. But there's one person who's really been shepherding this study, and she's done an amazing, amazing job. Grace Tang from Square One really, really took hold of this and made sure that we were being very inclusive in getting all of the information that we needed to. And she's been working with the team. So I'm really, really proud of what Grace has done. And I'm going to turn it over to her. And then afterwards, I'll stay on to field a few questions if there are any from the board. But it's really just a briefing on that study. This isn't a public engagement. We intend to do that with EDC down the line when we're up to that. And I appreciate everybody's patience because, 2 years for a study is a long time to wait. And obviously, it's going to be something done in many phases, several phases. We don't even know that yet. We haven't done any of the engineering or any of the design yet. So all that'll come at a future date. But I thank all the stakeholders and all the people who've been working with us. And with that, I'll turn it over to Grace Tang, who's an amazing person and really shepherded this. She'll do a brief presentation, and I ask that you hold till the end of the presentation, and then I'm happy to discuss whatever I can with you. So hit it, Grace.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And can folks see me? Because I'm not seeing anybody on my screen, but
I
maybe
can
that's
see you.
okay.
Yeah, we can see
Okay,
you. Yeah.
okay, great. And
So
so
there's one
if
of
I,
you.
if I,
definitely see you.
okay, and I'm on Zoom, so thanks for being patient. I'm gonna ask Devin, my colleague, to share the PowerPoint, if that's okay. And I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to see it when shared.
It's up now. Can you see it, Grace?
Okay, I can't, but you know what? That's okay because I've got it kind of here as well on my
Okay.
screen. So, okay, so we'll go to the agenda slide. So good evening, everybody. My name is Grace Tang. I'm with New York City Parks. I work in our Environment and Planning Division. And as Commissioner mentioned, there's going to be an exciting announcement later this week to announce that Parks has recently received, drumroll, $1 billion to reconstruct the Coney Island Boardwalk. Many people on this call today have been advocating for many, many years to fully see a renovation of this boardwalk. And so we're super excited about this. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but I wanted to we wanted to preview this news with you all here tonight and just tell you a little bit about what that work is going to entail and kind of some of the findings from our study that we completed last year. So that $1 billion is going to be a full reconstruction of the entire boardwalk from the ground up, including the structural piles, all the utilities. It's going to include improving access points from the street ends up to the boardwalk and then from the boardwalk down to the beach. It will also include improvements of several boardwalk adjacent parks, buildings, and structures. And we're going to be partnering with the New York City Economic Development Corporation on design and construction. They have done a ton of work in the Coney Island Peninsula, so we're super excited to be partnering with them. And so with that, I'm just going to walk through some of the scope of the study and some of our study findings. So I'll ask to go to the next slide. As mentioned, we're going to be doing the entire boardwalk, 2.5 miles from West 37th through Brighton 15th Street. It's 80 feet wide for most of its length. It does narrow down to about 50 feet over in the Brighton area. We will be keeping those dimensions the same. That is not changing. But what we will be changing, we'll go to slide 6. Well, I did want to highlight just kind of the conditions of the boardwalk today. So if you've been to the boardwalk recently, you'll know that it's not doing so great. It is 100 years old. We know, if I just kind of walk through the pictures here on the slide on the top left, we know the wood is not doing so well. It is rotting in a lot of places. There's a lot of accumulation of sand and water beneath the boardwalk that causes weeds to grow up through the cracks and to rot the wood. So it's not doing great for that reason. There's a lot of places where there's uplifted decking, loose screws. We have crews of carpenters who are out there daily fixing those individual boards. It's not a sustainable solution to be just fixing it board by board. Parks has done several capital projects over the last decade, usually fixing about 2 to 3 city blocks at a time. But again, those have not looked at the boardwalk holistically. So this is our opportunity to really look at the whole 2.5 miles together as one piece. If you go to the underside of the boardwalk, there are cracked support beams. There are piles, the concrete piles. There's cracks in some of them. You can see these red arrows pointing to one of the cracks. And then on the underside, there are many locations where, if the bottom right picture here, it's just open. That means that sand and water can migrate from the beach into the community. So that's a condition we'd also like to mitigate with the new boardwalk construction. So we want to seal that off for safety and security as well. If you go to the next slide, access points. So practically all of the street ends that that you follow down to the boardwalk, it is a dead end essentially. And so there's many places that are like the picture on the left here, where we may have ramps, but they're not necessarily up to code. We may have some stairs, but they're not that accessible, nor are they that welcoming. And so we'd really like to improve those street ends, definitely make everything ADA accessible, universally accessible, and where possible, improve the street ends and do something like a street end plaza like you see here on the right at West 10th, which we completed a few years ago. So where possible, we'd like to make it like this, a sort of street end plaza. But at a minimum, we would definitely make all of the access points ADA accessible. Next slide. So there are several parks buildings along the boardwalk. There's about 15 of them. They comprise lifeguard stations, public restrooms. There are many of those, and all those need renovating. So we'll be renovating those. There's also on the upper right, there is a parks garage facility that is fronting the boardwalk, and that is also not doing great. So we're going to completely rebuild that facility. So there's a lot of buildings that will also be done as part of the $1 billion set of improvements. If you go to the next slide, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, during the course of the study, we did a series of flood modeling. And so we set up a computer model to simulate storms, how they would affect the entire peninsula. So we modeled both coastal storms and just regular rainstorms, both today and in the future. And so in setting up this computer model, we realized that the beach and boardwalk are in fact the highest point in elevation of the entire peninsula. And that boardwalk and beach range approximately from 13.5 feet above sea level to 16.5 feet above sea level. And so what that means is during a large coastal storm, water is generally entering from the north side of the peninsula. So if you look on the diagrams to the right, these little white arrows are indicating where that water is mostly coming from. So that's Sheepshead Bay on the east end, and Coney Island Creek along the west side of the peninsula. And so these colors on the maps, the blue is depicting the deeper water, so that's anywhere from 4 to 6 feet. The depth of the water during a 100-year storm, so that's like a Hurricane Sandy type storm. And over time, what these maps are showing is, say, in 2085, in 60 years or so, there's going to be more deeper water, because with climate change, storms are going to get more intense and more frequent. And so while the beach and boardwalk are the highest points of the peninsula, eventually in time, those will start to get inundated too. And so what we are recommending is that portions of the boardwalk, not all of the boardwalk, but portions, be elevated to help address with this future climate change scenario. So rebuilding the boardwalk with portions at a higher elevation, in addition to other coastal flood measures, it's what's going to ultimately help protect Coney Island from future coastal storms. If you go to the next slide, you all may remember that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers did a kind of visioning study. They completed that in 2022 for a long-range plan to come up with how to protect really all of the New York, New Jersey region from coastal flooding. But in the Coney Island area, this pink line is their coastal protection alignment. And so as you can see, the dashed line indicates the boardwalk. We are pretty much in their alignment. And so everything that we do to the boardwalk as part of this project is going to be in alignment with the Corps. We will be coordinating with them throughout the project to make sure that anything we do will not preclude the Army Corps from doing their work in the future to help protect the entire peninsula. But what we can control now is the boardwalk. And so that's really what we're focused on in this project. If you go to the next slide. I wanted to drill down a little bit into the actual elevations along the boardwalk. I mentioned it ranges from 13.5 to 16.5 feet above sea level. And so this diagram is depicting where the highest points are. So in the orange at the amusements and aquarium, as well as the very eastern end is where they are highest. They're about 16.5 feet. And then the lower parts of the boardwalk are the yellow and the green. So that ranges anywhere from 13.5 to 15 feet or so. And so that means the boardwalk is ever so slightly undulating. You can't tell when you're on the boardwalk, but it in fact does go up and down a little bit over the 2.5 miles. I also wanted to point out these little pink rectangles. And so those are indicating all the buildings on the land side of the boardwalk, which front the boardwalk. And so those are businesses, those are amusements, those are restaurants that have things that spill out onto the boardwalk. And so that's all very important when we think about how we will be elevating portions of it. And so on the next slide is a very rough concept on how we would do that. And so we're calling it a tiered boardwalk concept. So if you look at the diagram on the top, the purple, or let's start with the orange. The orange line is indicating places where you would have two tiers. You would have a lower tier and an upper tier of the boardwalk. The purpose of this is so that the buildings that are fronting the boardwalk on the land side can still spill out onto the boardwalk with the cafe, with the restaurant, with the amusement entrance. And so that will not change. So the relationship between those existing facilities, buildings, and the boardwalk stays the same. And then towards the beach end is where we step up or ramp up a couple of feet, no more than 2.5 feet, to the upper tier. And so that allows for a seamless connection from the businesses to the boardwalk while still elevating portions. And so the purple line indicates where the boardwalk is already at a higher elevation and we don't need to have two tiers. So it will be rebuilt and feel very similar to what it is like today. If you go to the next slide. Lastly, just wanted to touch very briefly on materials of the boardwalk, which is to say that this is something we know is very important to the community. We have not decided on the final material, but we do know, you all know, that there's a bunch of different materials out there today. So we really want to bring that all together in a holistic vision when we do the design. Today, we've got sections like on the very eastern section, we have recycled plastic lumber mixed with concrete. In many, many other parts, we still have the wood. And then on a couple other sections on the west end and in the middle, we have some concrete sections. So that's something we're going to be studying a lot with a design team and with a construction team and with the community. And we'd be happy to hear your input when we start those input sessions. And lastly, just to talk about next steps, like I said, we're partnering with EDC. We'll work with them to procure a design and construction team. And so once design kicks off, we'll start that stakeholder outreach, reaching out obviously to the amusements and local businesses. We'll work with the community board, NYCHA, the Alliance for Coney Island, Aquarium, and many, many others. And we're happy to take suggestions on what other groups we should be talking to. But that's pretty much our plan at this moment. We're really excited to let you know about this. And so that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much, Grace. Thank you for your efforts overseeing the planning study and doing the interface. And thank you, Devin, and you for putting this together. So, Dennis, that's pretty much our presentation. It's a brief summary of the study. Again, we're not into design or engineering yet. We're not into, community input or anything like that yet. But when we do have that going, we will certainly engage with CB13 and the other stakeholders. Absolutely.
coming up in the future. But we do have a few questions here at the meeting tonight.
Sure.
Jennifer, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate all of these many factors that you're taking into consideration, the resilience, the community interest. So very grateful for that. I wonder, and if you don't have this information yet, if this will come later, that's fine. But I'm wondering if you know how much higher the high tier part will be, because what I'm sort of imagining is the companies that run businesses on the boardwalk. Part of the reason that people love sitting out in front of them on the boardwalk is that they can look out onto the ocean. But if this higher tier is going to block the view of people sitting in front of those restaurants, that kind of takes away from that joy. So businesses might have some qualms about that. So do you have an estimate for that yet?
Yes, Jennifer, and thank you. It's a great question. And first of all, the second tier isn't the entire boardwalk. It's just a section. And again, this hasn't been designed or engineering. It's a concept. But and there are many places there isn't a second tier at all, that it's already at the elevation it needs to be. In those places it does, the maximum difference is 30 inches. So it doesn't block safety views. It doesn't block views of the beach. If you can picture on the boardwalk now, the railing that's there, the railing is greater than 30 inches high. So you're talking about a very minimal separation from the existing grade to what that finished outer grade would be. The inner grade on the northern part doesn't change at all, but 30 inches is the most, and in many cases it's less than that to achieve that height. But it's a very good question, and it was one that we had right from the get-go as well. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else with any questions here in the room?
Okay, we're gonna go to the Zoom people. We have first is Christopher, then Craig.
Hey Marty, just a question, because I was really glad to hear the word accessibility. When you guys do build the ramps and stuff, can you guys make sure there's signages also there? Because lately, not because I've been seeing in other states, I see them putting accessibility signs. Federal regulation, I was handicapped, but I'm using accessibility because it covers seniors and disabled. And the second question, just to be quick, who is taking over the accessibility for parks?
I don't know. We're about to get a new mayor. I don't know who the various people will be. I know that our great friend just left a little while ago. So I don't know the answer to that question. And yes, of course, we will make sure that we're complying and exceeding American with Disabilities Act, and we will make sure the appropriate signage is there.
And I do want to thank Grace, because it was a really good presentation.
She's awesome. She's just absolutely awesome. Thank you.
Good to see you, Grace, from here.
Okay, next we have is Craig and then Minnie.
Thanks, Eddie. Good evening, everyone. First, I actually want to thank the commissioner, because I think it was 2 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, we used to have 2 seasonal part-time carpenters that were doing all of the plank replacement work, and I believe that was doubled to 4 a couple of years ago. And because of that, they've been able to make, I think, a significant dent in some of the backlogged work that was just piling up over time. So, Commissioner, thank you for doing that. I don't know where the money came from, but wherever it is, it looks like there's a lot more behind it. And we're all pretty excited about $1 billion to be spent on the boardwalk. I actually have tons of questions, but I'm just going to start with a couple because I know other people have their hands up. My first question is, in the slide deck, towards the beginning in the summary, you mentioned some pre-designed study materials that were developed, and I was wondering if that could be shared with the community at this time, whatever it is that you guys have been looking at and working on, because I, for one, would like to get caught up to speed to where the Parks Department is. So if that could be shared, that would be great. And then to get back to the point that was just discussed about the elevation on the southern edge, you said at one point that it would be no more than 30 inches raised from the current deck now, or the tier now. But I know that those of us who were working on the HATS study with the Army Corps of Engineers, they were the ones that actually proposed a 5-foot elevation on the southern edge. And so I'm a little concerned that if the Parks Department's flood protection on the southern edge doesn't match what the Army Corps wants, that you might find yourselves in a wrestling match with them and ultimately have to abide by what their recommendations are. I mention this because in some of the comment letters that we sent off to the Army Corps of Engineers, especially the ones on behalf of the Rise to Resilience coalition that I've been working with, we've recommended no wall at all there, and instead of using a two-tiered approach, to use a buried seawall covered in sand dunes set back from the boardwalk as an alternative, so that there would be absolutely no obstruction as far as the view goes, or any kind of hurdle that access might pose because of a new ramp and wall system that would be put in place. So I'm wondering to what degree, if at all, were buried seawalls and sand dunes considered instead of a two-tiered approach? And part two is your measurement of 30 inches. How does that compare to the Army Corps? Have they seen this? Have they commented on this? Do we know where they stand on that?
So we are definitely working hand in hand with the Corps. Keep in mind the hack study is also conceptual and is not funded for construction. And nothing we're doing precludes them from doing some of the things that you mentioned. An engineered dune is something we would welcome from them. But what we're doing is the boardwalk proper itself. So we have been in communication. We will continue that communication with them. But nothing we do will preclude them from doing something if it gets funded in the future. Everything that they've had so far is purely conceptual, and I believe their elevation was a foot above ours. And keep in mind that that two-tiered thing is not in every location. There are several locations already at the 16-foot elevation. It's just that those other places, some places it's a difference of a foot. So the maximum is the 30 inches. To get back to the carpenters, I'm glad you're thanking me, but it's actually the mayor. We had one full-time year-round, and we had one seasonal for 3 or 4 months. For the past 3 years, we've had 4 crews of maintenance men, maintenance persons, and carpenters, roughly $1 million a year in salaries and materials. They've replaced about 10,000 boards. They've done about 250 beams. We spent just shy of $4 million. We're getting less than 1% of the boardwalk done with all that. It's 1.3 million boards, but we are trying what we can. It's not, I think I don't have to tell people here, it's not easy as just pulling up a board and hammering in a new one. It's actually to change one board can be quite complicated when they have to dig out and put nailers in and things like that. But thank you for recognizing that they're up there. So, but yeah, and again, we don't have the engineering done. We don't have the input aligned yet, but we will be reaching out through the community board and the elected officials and the stakeholders when that time comes for the engineering and design.
That's great. And can we get a copy of the pre-designed study materials that were referenced in the executive summary slide in the deck you just showed us?
I don't know the answer to that just yet. I have to see what's available via our legal office and via the people who did the study itself. So I don't know the answer to that.
So
right
should we put a written request into your corp counsel or something? How should we proceed with that?
I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what the status of those are, whether they're internal notes or whether they're shareable. So I don't have an answer for you right now.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Would you be able to look into that for us? And
Sure. Grace, let's talk about that tomorrow.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Next we have is Minnie, and then Jeff and Ida, and then Mark.
Yes, I'd also like to tell you how grateful I am for the carpenters. I know they do a great job and they've made a huge difference. My questions are concerning safety. Despite the signs prohibiting different vehicles from traveling on the boardwalk. There are bicycle riders, there are motorized vehicles on the boardwalk, and it poses a safety hazard to many of us using the boardwalk, especially like little toddlers who would dart out. Will there be a separate lane or some kind of a division for other kinds of vehicles that will separate them from pedestrians?
To start with.
So thank you for the question, Minnie. We don't have a design yet, and Larry and I will speak to the precinct commander about that stuff. I think some of you know that I was trying to get a engineered dune out from the boardwalk, capped by a bike and skate path like they have in Venice Beach some time ago. We actually had $7 million at one time to do that, and then that money disappeared. The state was being a little bit obscure about it, and we didn't pursue it. But I hear the request, and that would be a good thing for when we have the input session to make sure you bring up. We do put signs up that tell people that, but it's really a matter of enforcement. But we'll make sure we take that in when we have the input.
One other quick question. I was reading that there are studies going on for a ferry, Oceanside Ferry. How will this interface with these plans?
I'm not really involved with that particular study about the ferry. I've been around 41 years, so we've done ferries 3 times at Steeplechase Pier. The pier isn't affected by this. I do know that the pier, from my Coast Guard days, the pier is not protected water. They did ferry service with spud barges 3 different times in my career, and they were never economically feasible. But I'll let the scientists and stuff that do that study and that modeling do that. It shouldn't affect the boardwalk part at all.
Okay, next we have is Jeff.
Thank you for your comments about the carpenters. We're proud of them as well.
Yeah, they do a great job. We're out there.
Okay, it's Ida.
Hello, Ida.
Unlike Staten Island, unlike Rockaway, this boardwalk is immediately adjacent to residential buildings. In Rockaway and Staten Island, you have wide vegetated barriers, you have parking lots, you have multi-lane roadways before your buildings start. Here we are literally on top of the boardwalk. So the boardwalk affects us in many ways. Prior to Sandy, when you first did the concrete pilot section at Ocean Parkway, I asked about storm surge impacts, and your chief engineer at the time, John Natale, told me, and I quote, "Lady, a storm surge is never going to hit that boardwalk." Well, I was here and I watched it come over the boardwalk. Now, why do I bring that up? Because there was a significant difference in storm surge impacts for the wood section and the concrete section, and I have the pictures to prove it. And I showed these
before.
I will send them, right? And I showed this to the Army Corps, and I said to them, if you think this is a bunch of hooey, I'll shut up and I won't show it again. But they said they thought I had something there, because my concern is that when that storm surge hits a hard surface, and then the wave energy is not going to be dissipated, and it's going to hit our buildings full force. And in Sandy, a piece of the old esplanade lifted up and punched holes in the foundation of the first building in Manhattan Beach. And we do know that during Sandy, the concrete sections in Rockaway, the slabs lifted up, and I have pictures of that as well. We're also concerned about heat impacts. There are a number of other impacts, but the bottom line is that there are tens of thousands of units of housing that are immediately adjacent to this boardwalk, and whatever you do on that is going to affect us, our lives, and our property. So we really need that considered. And last but not least, at the beginning of this presentation, you mentioned a scoping. Does that mean there's going to be an EIS here?
I don't know the environmental requirements at this time. We will comply with whatever is required. But when I said scoping, I meant what we usually do when we execute a project. We have community input and we listen to those comments and stuff. And you know that the hotline, the Ida and Jeff Sanoff hotline on my desk is not going to be disconnected either.
Well, I'm glad it's not going to be. I don't care if you talk to me or you don't talk to me. I only care about things taken into account because I'm not going to mention the project, but another flood control project here, the highly paid consultants said in public meetings that hurricanes are not major rain events. And this was coming from their consultants. And I thought I was going senile. Okay. So sometimes, us local folks know the lay of the land better than some of the high priced consultants. So just looking forward to this process and seeing what's coming out of it. Thank you.
We always appreciate you, Ida. Thank you.
All right, we have Mark and then Craig again. All right, Mark.
Yeah, Ida kind of asked my question. Just would the effects of cement versus wood be taken into account? I know the study hasn't been done, but just it needs to be done. The difference in damage for the sections adjacent to cement versus the sections adjacent to wood. So I just wanted to make sure that would be part of whatever you're studying, because it clearly was very different. And Ida kind of asked this question. So I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't done any engineering or design as of yet. That hasn't started yet.
Okay, next we have Craig.
I just wanted to be sure it was part of the study.
Thank you, Mark.
That was.
Thanks, Eddie. So I have two more questions. First of all, looking backwards and looking forwards. Looking backwards, the last time you were out, I believe, was 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. We were talking about the section of boardwalk between West 24th and West 27th that's currently decked over in plywood. That's been like that since Sandy. And there were designs that were shown at that point to the community that included a vehicular on-ramp, so that you would need to use the slip under the West 25th Street to get access to the beach. That would have been replaced with a ramp at West 27th Street adjacent to that playground that I believe was going to be relocated. We went through a process with this. There was $11.5 million, if I recall correctly, that was already allocated for that. So I'm wondering, is that on a separate track? Has that been given up entirely? And this is looking backwards. What's the status of that piece of the boardwalk? And then looking forwards, we have $1 billion that's going to be coming in, phased in fiscal years 28 through 32, according to the September plan budget that was released 2 months ago. So what are some of the next milestones in this process moving forward? You mentioned some kind of community input, which is welcome news. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the timetable is. Can you say a little bit more about looking backwards and looking forwards, how we move forward from here?
Sure. So the project from West 24th Street to West 27th Street is continuing. Keep in mind, this $1 billion project is a long-range thing, and that particular section of the boardwalk is likely the worst. So that project is continuing. The ramp might not be the first part of it. You also have to keep in mind we already have a ramp to the boardwalk at 25th Street. This is just to move it to 27th Street, and that was approved. It's probably not going to be in that particular phase of the project. It will likely be something that's done within the larger scope. But that project is indeed happening. I don't have the notes in front of me, but I would say it will commence within the coming year. We don't have sort of the timeline per se. Obviously, we're not going to be able to, shut down the boardwalk all 2.4 miles worth of length. There'll be some kind of phasing. The study had one phasing. There is more money available now. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're, letting people have access to the beach. We want to make sure that businesses can still run and so on. So we don't know what the phasing is. EDC and Parks will work together to get a consultant. That's a procurement process for the design and engineering. So I think, just knowing how these things go over time, you'll probably be looking at an input session within the next 2 years. And then, obviously we'll keep the community board abreast, and we'll let people know when that discussion is going to be, and then they can move into engineering. Keep in mind, that we can't do everything all at once. There will be some phasing. We don't know whether that'll be north-south, section 1, section 3, or so on and so forth. When we have that figured out, of course, we're going to share that with the community and all the stakeholders. So looking back, yes, it's still happening. Looking forward, we'll keep you informed as we cross milestones.
Okay, next we have is Angela.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for this presentation. I have a I have a comment on when you will be selecting the use of the material. So as you pointed out in your presentation, the boardwalk is higher and elevated more than the rest of the Coney Island. And we experienced during the Sandy when the water came from the north, not from the ocean. So as is, we're already more or less protected better from the ocean side by the boardwalk. But if you use concrete, if you concrete 2.5 miles of the boardwalk, non-permeable material, that will worsen the situation. And not only during the hurricanes, but during the storm, during the flood storm. So that's my concern about using the concrete. Another thing is the maintenance of concrete on the long run is more expensive than the boardwalk. When you can have one guy with the hammer and nails coming and fixing those boards. Concrete needs equipment, needs a crew, but you probably know that. And the third concern against the concrete or plastic over the concrete is the heat zone. Coney Island is currently urban heat island, and we are heat zone number 5. It's like as bad as it comes. And the rate of the children with respiratory disease is higher in Coney Island than the other parts of Brooklyn. So I would like you to consider wood to remain boardwalk. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Okay, we're going to go back into the room here. Dennis first.
Commissioner, I want to echo the concern of our chairperson, Jeff Sanoff. If this funding is secured now, is it guaranteed to stay secure to the completion of this project? Or would a new administration coming in have different plans for the money?
So OMB, Office of Management and Budget, has committed it. It's been committed by the mayor. I have been through 7 different mayors, and once something is committed in that, it's not going to be rescinded. I joke with Jeff that the money's in a cash box under my desk. Obviously, that I was just kidding, but I think any administration is going to know how very important the boardwalk is, not just to Coney Island, but to the city of New York in general. So I don't think there's anything to worry about the funding being rescinded.
It's important to everybody in the world that comes here to visit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, we have Koichi.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Koichi. Thank you for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. My question is about the policy around vehicles and the boardwalk. Did your study cover anything about vehicles on the boardwalk, destroying the boards, hurting the nail? Like there was brief mention of the boards disintegrating, and but there was no explanation as to why. And the reason why that we residents of Coney Island all see very clearly is because Parks Department vehicles are too big that go on the boardwalk, and sanitation vehicles are too big that go on the boardwalk. And Mark Traeger a few years ago created a law saying that the vehicles on the boardwalk should be no more than 2,400 pounds. And I think even that limit is too high. That vehicles on the boardwalk should be even lighter than that. But I want to hear. My question is, did you study the impact of vehicles on the boardwalk? And do you have would you have any recommendations for the city to change that law? Is there anything that you think needs to be done to preserve the boardwalk from vehicles destroying it?
Your own vehicles.
So I don't know that the study specifically looked at vehicles. I know from being here 41 years out of the boardwalk's 102 years that some vehicles are necessary to maintain the boardwalk. We do not use it as a general thoroughfare. The largest of the vehicles is the Broyhill that empties the baskets, that has big balloon tires, that distributes the weight. Department of Transportation maintains the 171 light poles on the boardwalk, so they have a bucket truck that does it. They don't put the big truck anymore. I've seen them with the smaller truck. We use vans that are not heavy to do the carpentry and the work that and plumbing that has to be done on the boardwalk. And then the park enforcement and police use a basic car to do patrol on it. If anybody ever sees a vehicle that is going more than 5 miles an hour in a non-emergency situation, you can email Eddie the plate number, and I will have people disciplined and investigate. But when the boardwalk was created, there were vehicles that were created. If you look in the pictures historically, there were sweeper vehicles that were intended for the boardwalk. So vehicles are going to be on the boardwalk. They should not be abusing the boardwalk. They should not be going fast on the boardwalk, but it's an essential part of maintaining a safe beach and a safe and repaired boardwalk.
Commissioner, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there'll be many information and sessions where we'll be able to have community input, correct?
I wouldn't say many, but there will be some for sure to have discussion with the community and listen to what everybody has to say. And of course, we'll be guided by engineering and the desire for it to be resilient and last for another 100 years.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cool. We also have Christopher Greif on Zoom.
I was waiting because I know it's
you guys speak louder.
Eddie, I'm speaking any louder. New Jersey can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we can't. I heard you, Joanne and Barbara, but let me just get to the question I was going to get to my question. Commissioner, there's one question that I did forget to ask you. When you guys do construction on the boardwalk, and when you do construction, are you putting out the signs that where areas are closed and what is a detour going around? Because if, say, you guys have to do construction on a boardwalk, let's say you have to close 2 or 3 blocks, what is your alternative reroute for any person? Because I don't think it's a good idea to reroute them into the sand unless you have all those special things for them to go through.
So I think your question is early. I said earlier that we're gonna be very cognizant of people wanting to use the beach and the water, about the businesses and so on. I can't tell you how many signs and which way the arrows are pointing right now. I can't tell you what the phasing is going to be, but of course we're going to keep people informed of it. You know, I'm not going to say that reconstructing a 102-year-old, and by then it might be a 105-year-old or more boardwalk is not going to be an inconvenience. It certainly will be, and there will certainly be sections closed at a time for safety during construction. We're going to make sure people are informed of that. We're going to make sure it's phased in a logical fashion. We're going to try to address worse first if I have my way. But of course, we'll keep people informed. I couldn't tell you where we're placing the signs and how we're rewriting people at this time. There's been no design and no engineering.
Yeah. Commissioner, just to be very clear, what I was saying was like a map. because when when I've been seeing is when you do some constructions I've seen, they tell you they set up a map. So I'm just giving an idea of it.
Thank you.
That's what I'm saying, because some people I know was mentioning, well, why don't you close it? Where's the direction? That's why I want to make sure you mentioned it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, next we have is Craig and then Minnie.
Okay.
Thanks. So Commissioner, I didn't quite notice from the map that you showed in the presentation of the buildings adjacent to the boardwalk. Did that include the building foundation to the east of Bay 1, the one that's sitting there basically in no man's land? It's just the foundation to an old concession building. There's some brickwork that's left over. I know it's a good footprint, so if you wanted to build on it, we wouldn't be introducing a new building. But we had some thoughts on using that as some kind of a cultural center, possibly an environmental center. The community board supported it. It's one of their budget requests. Is that something that is being looked at or could be looked at within the budget for this?
So you're talking about the garage at the east end. It was operational in 1989 last. We would like to see something happen to that. I don't know that it'll be a community or cultural center, but we do have visions sort of as a sitting area, maybe a shade pavilion, maybe some pickleball courts and some landscaping there. Again, there's been no design just yet, but we do want to get rid of that ugly remnants of a building. Yes.
Well, I think on that point, we're agreed as far as what the future use is that something that we can have some kind of community input on?
You can have input on it if it's a park purpose and it's something that we agree to, I'm sure. But, input sessions are for collecting the information. So we want you to, at that time, give us what you'd like. Obviously, not everybody gets everything that they like, but I'm very interested in having it as something far better than what it is now.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Minnie, then Danny.
My question is about bathrooms. In the winter, there are very few bathrooms open, especially during in the west end of Coney Island. It would be a really important improvement to have things available open year round. And also, resiliency is very important, but we also have to be concerned with safety. And there are areas where the microplastic on the boardwalk, pieces of that seem to get loosened, and we're very concerned about microplastics going into the ocean and into the community. So the safety of the community is what should be of foremost importance. Thank you.
We appreciate that, Minnie. And yes, we plan to rebuild the public restrooms, not as trailers or elevated trailers. There are 3 buildings that need some upgrade that are good and solid. We would like them to be, year round. The $1 billion doesn't give me the staff I need to run the beach year round, but that's a separate thing that I know CB13 will always advocate for. But yes, the building should be proper public restrooms with baby changing stations, etc., and have heat year round. Absolutely.
Great. All right, Daniel.
Commissioner, thank you very much for all your work in procuring this money. I know you had a hand in it somewhere. You're a modest guy, but I know how important Coney Island is for you. That being said, this announcement, and I know that the mayor will probably respect the funding allocation. That being said, it's late. It's late in the administration to announce this. And it's a long time before you or I or anybody else on this call was around, but I remember there was a mayor who got infamous for spending capital funding on expenses back in the early 70s. So I just want to make sure that while we have fun spending this money over the next few years, if at all the administrations, the future administrations start to balk on spending it, or even take out partially some of this money, that we're made aware. So the folks here, and I know we're unified in one frame, we're unified, everyone on this call, and that is that we keep that money to spend. That is our money to spend. So please rely on this community to do exactly that. If at all the contingency comes where that money starts to disappear partially, that the Coney Island community would stand up and say no. So I just that's the only thing I want to throw out there. I don't know how we're going to spend it, but I know we're going to spend it. And like I said, we'll have a lot of fun rebuilding in the world's most famous boardwalk.
Thanks, Dan. No elected official or no bureaucrat is going to double cross CB 13. You might get away with double crossing CB 18 or CB 17 or something, but you don't go to war with CB 13. You just don't. So I don't think we have to worry about that. But I know that this group will not just be content with $1 billion. You'll try to get me the 5% for parks that we should have. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You'll figure that out on yourself what the right percentage for parks is.
All right. Next we have is Abby.
Hi, Eddie, and hi, Commissioner. Thank you so much for this talk. I just wanted to ask, would you be comfortable doing this again? Just like as like a check-in? No, okay, you're already saying no. The next question.
I wouldn't want my blood pressure to go that high. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. I'm always in communication with Eddie. This is the announcement's going to come soon about that. We will engage with the community, and I'll be part of that for sure.
Great. And then I just wanted to ask, I know that you guys discussed about how you want to elevate the boardwalk. And as born and raised here in Brighton Beach and Coney Island, I do, tend to look at Rockaways with envy and what they've done in terms of working with gray and green infrastructure. And I just wanted to ask you, what needs to happen for there to be something reminiscent here in Coney Island and Brighton Beach that looks like what the Rockaways has, where there is beach grass helping to stabilize and fortify a sand dune system to mitigate chronic chronic flooding and of course storm surges, but then also an elevated boardwalk that provides, the historic and the amusement area. Like it would be a dream to hopefully see something that is hybrid, holistic, meets the points of being able to work with nature-based solutions, but then also meets the points of like maintaining the historic amusement district. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
We've done a couple of sections where we've sort of created dunes in cooperation with the Wildlife Conservation Society, our Natural Resources Group. I mentioned very briefly that it's got to be 15 years ago. I had a vision of an engineered dune about 60 yards south of the boardwalk that was capped with a bike and skate path that had beach grass on both sides of it. It was actually funded for about $6 or $7 million. Congressman Nadler and Adele
Cohen. Adele Cohen.
Adele Cohen, thank you. Funded it back in the day. The money's gone. Nothing we are doing precludes the Army Corps of Engineers from doing an engineered dune in the future or from that happening in the future. And keep in mind that the elevation is only partial elevation where it needs to be higher, and that you'll still be able to come in from the street level or from the amusements or from buildings and stuff. And it's a concept at this point. Again, no design and no engineering has happened. So that elevation portion might be 12 feet or 10 feet or 20 feet. I don't know what that is just yet. It's a concept that addresses the elevation to some degree. And we're talking about sheeting, and I don't know the depth of the sheeting in front of that to protect it as well, and from sand from washing through. Again, we haven't done the engineering, but we like green infrastructure. We like sub-nature based things. We are looking at this holistically. We want this to last for many, many, many years beyond whenever my retirement is. But I'll be here with you to get this going if I can help it. So, but great question. I think we're thinking the same way.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I just have to shout out to parks. I was a teenager when the first dunes were planted in front of the aquarium and also in front of the nursing home at the towards the 30s. And it was a lot of fun, like to be part of that. And it kind of really just changed the trajectory of my career because now I work in climate science and environmental science. And it really was because of the environmental stewardship work.
You must know what a dibble stick is. That's what you use to plant Spartina grass.
Michael Butts at the time was who showed and trained me on it. So yeah.
Thank you for helping out. We've also done some work on the north side of Coney Island, West 37th Street, trying to stabilize that dune that we didn't plan, that we got from the Corps of Engineers. But anyway, thank you.
Okay, Craig, I think you might be the last one.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So, actually, since we're on the subject of beach grass, I should throw out there that the last public event that I attended was in March of 2020, before COVID shut us all down, was a beach grass planting event by the aquarium. And it was actually so wonderful that since then, I've been trying to get you guys to do some beach grass planting over here in Brighton Beach. I know Mr. Foxman's backyard could probably benefit from having some protection. And I put in a request recently with Carly at the partnership to see if we can get something going. She said the ultimate decision comes from the borough commissioner. We're looking hopefully to do something next March, since that seems to be the perfect planting season. If we could work out something to do some beach grass planting in Brighton next March, just wanted to make sure that you were flagged on that. Don't need an answer today. But looking ahead for park stewardship, this is important. Brooklyn, until recently, only had one park administrator. That was the Prospect Park administrator. Other boroughs had as many as a dozen park administrators, but Brooklyn, being the most populous borough, only had one. And I believe one was recently added, so there's a park administrator for Marine Park as well. Borough Commissioner Marr, could you be on board with possibly getting us a park administrator to be a beach czar in the future, so that we have one dedicated person who's explicitly focused on beach management issues? That could be everything from working on concessions and writing grants and doing the day-to-day M&O work that needs to be done, because we have to compete with all of the other neighborhood parks in the borough right now, since we don't have dedicated management and we know that you have a limited bandwidth. I think that part of the answer to that is to just find a person for a park administrator's position and create a third one. It wouldn't be unheard of. Other boroughs still have plenty more than we do. Is that something that you could be on board with?
So we actually had a Coney Island administrator at one time, because I was it, way back. You know, we have regional managers. Some of the other boroughs don't have regional managers, and the one we have for this area, Lawrence Major Jr., has very, very versed in beach operations. I'm not opposed to it, but there needs to be sort of the funding base for it as well. I don't know that I see it in the foreseeable future, but I'm not opposed to the idea. We have 4 administrators in Brooklyn, but we have many more regional managers than the other boroughs have. So, you know, I always welcome additional staff. I want some more frontline staff before I have any more management, middle management, or upper management.
Well, thank you. That's actually encouraging, and we have both of our council members represented on this call, so they heard it from your mouth, and hopefully we'll be able to take action on that in the future.
They both have hotlines to my desk, just like Ida.
Okay, question? Your name? Say your name.
Question. Updates to the boardwalk or maintenance, but something I've noticed since the sand was filled in under the boardwalk many years ago. I'm also a lifelong resident of this area and remember going downstairs to go to the beach and everything. But since it's been filled in over the years, probably everyone's noticed, especially in the West End, just sand overtaking parts of the boardwalk and weeds growing up in between the planks as well. It's already been talked about the cars. I, have a twitch every time I see the cars going by, which is very frequent. My husband can't run on the boardwalk anymore because he's fallen because of all the screws sticking out. I said I wasn't going to talk about that, and I did. But anyway, something that I didn't hear brought up was the overwhelming sand and weeds in certain parts of the
Coming up
boardwalk.
underneath.
Will that be taken account for in this new study or design, or is it simply more maintenance, more attention to that?
So we definitely don't want weeds in a new boardwalk. And sand is going to be everywhere where the beach is. We'd like to, stop it between, future beach grass, which is not part of this, and the boardwalk having a barrier in both the north and southern part where it doesn't migrate under the boardwalk. So yes, that kind of stuff will be looked at. We certainly don't want weeds, and we can't treat the weeds with chemicals anymore. So we definitely don't want weeds on or under the boardwalk.
There is one suggestion that they have the tarp over
Well,
by the
we can do suggestions when we have that listening session.
Okay, so anybody else?
Yeah, one
One last question, and then you talk this way.
Oh, this way?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to ask about lights being off on the boardwalk. Because it seems recently there's been more and more light. I took a bunch of photos of lights that are out.
That we can discuss with Eddie.
That's not part of
That's
the.
not part of
That's
this.
not $1 million, but we
Let's
can
talk about that with Eddie.
locations to DOT for repair.
Yes.
It's DOT.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Last one, Rob Bernstein.
Hi, Commissioner. I wanted to second the request that Craig had made. I think it's really important that information be shared with the community on an ongoing basis. I can't see why it wouldn't be, but maybe you said you have to check with legal, so I'm just seconding that. And the only other thing is that I would say that we should maintain the historic character of the entire boardwalk, certainly not just in the amusement area. So those were the things I wanted to say. And then just a brief question, just to make sure I understand that no material has been chosen yet. That is correct, right?
Right. We haven't had any design or engineering yet.
Okay. And can you get back to the board and let us know if and when you'll share, or you're able to share in an ongoing way, the progression of the study? And then the last thing is the importance of community input, obviously. And so hopefully you will have multiple sessions that will take that into account as the study goes on, so that the study can include that. Yeah.
The study is complete. You're talking about the engineering and design, and we will have input for that when we have when EDC and us have procured the designer and engineering firm.
So if the study is complete, it has not suggested what material might be best?
We haven't selected material yet. We said that at the very beginning. We will have a discussion at the appropriate time when that happens.
Right, you haven't selected materials, but has there been a recommendation for one over another?
I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Right now, we'll want to close the meeting. I think 10.
What?
Sorry?
Oh, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I somehow I cannot find this hand.
Okay,
my
go ahead.
phone. I have a question. First of all, I really want to thank you, Commissioner, for coming out and telling us, giving us some valuable information, because our community is waiting. It's a long waiting information. From what you know, Commissioner, can you tell just tentatively, I am not going to hold your word for it, what's the time frame when we're going to start constructing new or repair or constructing new boardwalk?
5 years.
Yes, approximately.
I don't know. I don't have a time frame for you. This is going to be a multiple year construction. By multiple years, I'm not sure if I'm talking about 4 or 8. And it's like any capital project, a typical parks capital project that's simple is 4 years, from funding to design through procurement to construction. This is a little more complicated on the construction side, but the reason we're using Economic Development Corporation is because they're very good at managing larger projects. I did mention earlier that I expected the input session to occur within the next 2 years.
Can I follow up on this question? If it's going to be more, let's say, than 4 or 7 years, or around 7 years, with prices going up and inflation, do you think 1 billion would be enough?
Yes, when we got the estimates, we factored in the breadth of time that it would take for procurement, et cetera.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you to everybody that asked these very important and pertinent questions. Thanks to everybody that came tonight. We're going to adjourn the meeting.
All right. Thank you.
We very much appreciate everybody's discussion and listening to us. And I know it's freezing out, so everybody that actually came to the community board, that's amazing. And even from your houses and so on, we very much appreciate attending this.
You froze, so we didn't hear what you had to say. So
we didn't hear you, Marty. Can you
Start again. We didn't hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So first of all, I appreciate everybody that's physically at the board because it's freezing out tonight. But I appreciate everybody that joined from their cameras and so on. We very much know how important Coney Island and the boardwalk is to everybody.
Yes.
And we appreciate everybody taking time. I would ask that you sort of guard some of this information. There's going to be a big announcement very shortly within the week to that. So, let the mayor do the announcing and so on. But, this is not the last discussion on this. When we have the input sessions, we will have them, and we will engage as we always do with Community Board 13. But I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight and for caring about parks and this park in particular.
Thank you for your time, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
You're
welcome.
That's it. Have a good night.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Yeah.
Happy
we
holidays.
appreciate it. Thank